Here.
Mr. Friedman. Mr. Rogers.
Here.
Ms. Libet.
Here.
Mr. Havas. Madam Chair, seeing only 3 members of the board, all votes must be unanimous.
Understood. Thank you.
We do have a quorum to conduct business.
Thank you. Are there any communications?
Again,
Are there any communications?
not at this time.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move into the public hearing. For those of you that haven't joined us before, let me just briefly describe how we conduct business. The city will call the case by the case number. They'll read a brief description of the case. We ask the appellant to step up to the microphone at the podium. Make sure you pull the microphone really close to your face. Unfortunately, we can't hear you if you don't do that. And there's also a sign-in sheet if you'll sign in as well, please. And then state to the board what you're asking for and why. Then the city will read the findings of fact. We'll ask you to agree with those facts or add any other facts at that time. The city will make a recommendation. You'll have another opportunity to speak. Then we'll open up to public comment. If there's anybody here to speak on a case, that would be their opportunity to speak at that time. And then we'll turn it over to the board to discuss and make a decision. Now, as Mr. Wilkins said, this board is generally a 5-member board. 3 does constitute a quorum. Also, under state law, 3 votes must be all in agreement in order for your case to be accepted, I guess. So what we usually have offered is if you wish to postpone your hearing to a future meeting where there might be 4 or 5 members, you're welcome to do that. It's completely up to you, and we've always allowed that under our rules. So I'll ask you that question as well, if you want your case to be heard tonight or if you want to postpone your case. No issues either way, okay? So will the city call the first case, please?
Case 2322. The appellant, Blair Hughes, representing the owner, Tomika Campbell, is requesting the following waiver from the board: to reduce the side yard setback to construct a carport, 12-foot required, 3.1 feet proposed. The property is located on the west side of Aberdeen Street between Catalpa Drive and Wiltshire Boulevard at 28043 Aberdeen Street, Sidwell, parcel 2413253029, zoned RA, single-family residential. This appeal is to Section 5.193, Article 22, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Thank you. Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Blair Hughes. My business address is 46574 Herb Drive, Macomb, Michigan.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to continue to have your case heard this evening? Or, okay,
yes,
great.
Please.
So can you explain to the board what you're asking for and why?
Yeah, we're asking for a zoning variance on the side of the existing home. The homeowner is permanently wheelchair bound due to an auto accident. The concern is for her to be, she does operate a vehicle herself. The concern is for her to be able to get into her house or driveway in inclement weather and be able to get out of her car and enter her home safely. So what we've proposed is a carport over the existing driveway and also the existing concrete pad at the rear of the house, which is the rear egress for her to get in and out of the house. Essentially, the carport would be, other than the vertical support beams that support the carport, it's constructed out of wood, treated lumber, traditional framing. The carport itself will only be the width of the vertical beams outside the existing concrete. So as you see the driveway, you can see the carport. There's no overhang. The carport itself will tie into the existing roof line of the house. And then on the outside, there'll be vertical posts supporting it, which are treated 4x6 timbers, which will be butted up against the edge of the existing concrete.
Okay, thank you very much. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
Yes, ma'am. The appellant, Blair Hughes, representing the owner, Tomika Campbell, is requesting the following waiver from the board: to reduce the side yard setback to construct a carport, 12 feet required, 3.1 feet proposed. The property is located on the west side of Aberdeen Street between Catalpa Drive and Wiltshire Boulevard at 28043 Aberdeen Street, Sidwell, parcel 253029, zoned RA, single-family residential. This appeals to Section 5.193, Article 22, Chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance. The properties to the north, south, east, and west are zoned RA, single-family residential, and were developed with single-family homes in the Bonnie Acres subdivision number 1. Field inspection of the surrounding area reveals the properties to the north, south, east, and west are mostly of one-story, single-family dwellings. The exteriors are made mostly of brick siding. Most of the homes in the area have no garages except for a few homes that have a detached garage. The construction of surrounding property ranges from 1,000 square feet to about 1,500 square feet. The surrounding properties are mostly legal conforming and setback and lot coverage requirements. The subject property was built in 1958 and is a 1,372 square foot, one-story single-family residence with no garage or basement. The appellant proposes to construct a carport addition to the north and west side of the residence to create a protected handicap access to the residence. The subject property is legal conforming single-family residence. Variance request is for 8.9 feet reduction in side yard setback, 3.1 feet proposed, 15.1 existing, and 12 feet required.
Great, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes.
Okay, any other facts you'd like to add at this point?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, will the city read the recommendation, please?
The staff recommendation is for favorable consideration of the following waiver for an 8.9-foot reduction in side yard setback, 3.1 proposed, 15.1 existing, and 12-foot required, with the following conditions. The appellant secures all the required permits and clearances to construct a new carport addition in the residence to the residents in the city of Southfield, and the new carport addition meets the requirements of the 2015 Michigan Residential Code. These recommendations are based on the following. Due to the existing legal conforming residence on the parcel, the strict application of the ordinance would result in impractical difficulties and hardship to the owner and would not impair the intent and purpose of the ordinance. The request waiver for setback is minor in nature and would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll open public comment. Is there anyone from the public here that wishes to speak on this case? Now would be your opportunity to step forward. Seeing no movement, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Ms. Levitt?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, Mr. Rogers?
I just had one question. What's the roof made out of? Is
Asphalt shingles.
It's a shingle roof? Okay.
Yeah, we're going to tie into the existing roof. We've already previously built an addition to the rear of the property, and we'll be tying with the existing shingles. The standard framing be wood construction, plywood decking, asphalt shingles.
Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, thank you, I agree. I don't have any concerns about this request. Obviously, the houses in the neighborhood are kind of, tight, so there's not a lot of room, and something like this would require a setback reduction. So, Ms. Levitt, will you make a motion for us, please?
Sure. In the case of 23-22, the appellant, Blair Hughes, representing the owner, Tamika Campbell, is requesting the following waiver from the board. I'm sorry. And I would move that we grant the waiver for 8.9 feet reduction of the side yard setback, 3.1 feet proposed, 15.1 feet existing, 12 feet required, with the following condition. The appellant secures all the required permits and clearances to construct a new carport addition to a resident in the city of Southfield. The new carport addition meets the requirements of the 2015 Michigan Residential Code. This recommendation is based on the following. Due to the existing legal conforming residence on the parcel, the strict application of the ordinance would result in impractical difficulties and hardship to the owner and would not impair the intent and purpose of the ordinance. The requested waiver for setback is minor in nature and would not have an adverse effect upon adjacent or surrounding properties.
Great, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That is a unanimous decision, and your request is granted. So please continue to work with the city on the permitting process.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night. Will the city call the next case, please?
Case 2325, the appellant Metro Detroit Sign representing the owner of Marison Properties LLC is requesting the following waivers from the board. A variance for one additional wall sign not facing a major thoroughfare, 0 permitted, 1 proposed. A variance for 2 additional secondary signs facing a major thoroughfare over 50 square feet. The property is located on the west side of American Drive between 11 Mile and Franklin Road at 26360 American Drive, Sidwell parcel 2418476-014, zoned RC Regional Center District. This appeal is to Article 14, Section 8.64, subsections 1 and 2, Chapter 99 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the sign ordinance.
Great, thank you. Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Paul Dieters. I am with Metro Signs and Lighting, 11444 Colts Avenue in Warren.
Great, thank you. If you could, well, let me first ask, do you want to have your case heard tonight, or would you like to postpone?
Yes, ma'am, we'd like to continue.
Okay, if you could explain to the board what you're asking for and why, please.
Very well, thank you. So I'm sure many of you may know that in June, Magna purchased a division of Veoneer and is really excited to be part of the Southfield community now. They've moved about 300 team members into this facility and have plans to relocate several hundred more into Southfield as they continue to build out the space and continue the investment that they're making in the facility. The reason we're here this evening is Veoneer is still a tenant of this, the part of the building for the time being, and so they'll co-occupy the building for a portion of this. This would enable Magna to brand the building as well. And they do get quite a few visitors and out-of-town people to come to that. As you know, it's a really large building, can be a little bit difficult to find if you're not from the area. And we just ask, I know it's, we're asking for 3 signs more than what would normally be allowed. But if you look at it, the size and the scale of that building, it's an extremely large building. The letters that Magna's putting there are the same size as the Veoneer letters. So we think to scale, it's an appropriate sign package for the building. And also, if the board has any questions, also here with me this evening is Mr. Larry Walewski. He is the facility manager for all of Magna Electronics, and he can speak to what Magna's intent is for the facility or any questions that you may have of what they're looking to do there.
Okay, thank you very much. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
Findings of fact, ZBA case 23-25. The appellant Metro Detroit Signs, representing the owner of Marison Properties LLC, is requesting the following waiver from the board. A waiver for one additional wall sign not facing a major thoroughfare, 0 permitted, 1 proposed. A variance for 2 additional secondary signs facing a major thoroughfare over 50 square feet. The property is located on the west side of American Drive between 11 Mile and Franklin Road at 26360 American Drive. Sidwell parcel 2418476-014, zoned RC Regional Center District. This appeal is to Article 14, Section 8.64, subsections 1 and 2, Chapter 99 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the sign ordinance. To the north across American Drive, the property is zoned RC Regional Center and is developed with the Hilton Hotel. To the south, the property is zoned RC Regional Center and is developed with the Barton Mallow Headquarters Building. To the east, property is zoned RC Regional Center and is developed with a parking lot for the American Center Building. To the west, the property is zoned RC Regional Center and developed with office buildings. The site contains 10.46 acres of land. There is 756 feet of frontage on American Drive, and the depth is about 918 feet. The site is a single parcel that contains 4.71 acres with 271 feet frontage, 12 mile. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think that sentence is...
Let me disregard that.
Thank you.
The survey of existing signage reveals 1 ground sign 7 feet in height and 40 square feet in area, 3 wall signs 65 feet in area. These signs were approved as per Zoning Board of Appeals case 18-16. In the RC Regional Center District, 2 wall signs are permitted as the north and west sides of the building face a major thoroughfare, 200 square feet in area maximum, secondary retail businesses or services establishments servicing the development and having direct exterior frontage and access from the common parking shall be permitted, one wall sign not to exceed 1 square foot of area per linear foot of tenant frontage, or not to exceed 50 square feet, whichever is less. The appellant is proposing to install the following: 3 internally illuminated secondary wall signs, 65 square feet in area, located on the north, east, and west elevations of the building. A total of 195 square feet of wall sign area is proposed.
Okay, thank you. Do you agree with those facts?
Yes, I do.
Okay, any other facts you'd like to add at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay, will the city read the recommendation, please?
Staff recommendation is for favorable consideration for the waiver, requesting 1 additional wall sign not facing a major thoroughfare, 0 permitted, 1 proposed. A variance for 2 additional secondary signs facing a major thoroughfare over 50 square feet. Due to the size and the building, these recommendations are based on the following. Due to the size of the building and the parcel, the additional square footage is minor in nature. The proposed signs are consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance and the regulations which apply to the zoning district. The proposed signs are in keeping with the character of the surrounding area and would not have an adverse or detrimental effect on adjacent or surrounding properties. The proposed signs will not interfere with or be objectionable from a standpoint of traffic safety.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
I just want to clarify, I want to make sure, Mr. Wilkins, did I understand you, that just that, so that we know that the proposed signs are each 95 square feet? I think your finding of fact said 65 square feet.
65, total of 195 for all
Yeah,
three.
the 3 signs are each 95 square feet on what we're proposing. Just want to make sure that
What
the existing signs that are there, the veneer signs?
Yeah.
Those are each 65 square feet.
Right.
Okay, and maybe I misheard. I just want to correct,
Okay.
understand that what we're proposing is 3 at 95 square feet
Correct.
each. Okay, just to make sure.
Through the chair to the board, I think I heard Mr. Wilkins say that there was a case 18-16, so this would actually be a modification to that case. So when you make the motion, read it as a modification so the previous variances aren't voided. And if you'd like, we can pull up the previous variance or the minutes if you'd like to see those.
Thank you. Okay, so let's open public comment. Is there anyone here from the public who wishes to speak on this case? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Rogers?
So quick question, a couple questions. Number one, so the ZBA case from 2018,
16.
16, nothing will change from that. This is a modification
To add.
to add square
3 more.
footage from 65 to 95 square feet.
No, I think it's 3. There was 3 at 65. Now we're adding 3 more at 95 each.
Okay.
So a total of 6
So
signs.
285 square feet?
Correct.
Of additional of signage?
That's what I was saying.
The other question I had was, how long is Veoneer going to be,
A tenant.
a tenant in the building?
So, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Waluski, but we talked to this. That business unit is up for sale. Magna would like to have the entire building right now. I don't think that's quite in the cards yet. Their intent is to have the entire building once that occurs.
So when that happens, the Veoneer signs will obviously be removed. So we're kind of back to having 3 signs.
Right, right, because this stays with the property forever.
Okay.
The variance does.
But 3 signs at
Yeah.
95?
So if there was another tenant, would the intent be to add additional signage or just be Magna signage? And if you would step to the mic, I'm sorry, I have to ask you to step to the mic so it can be recorded for the minutes, and also state your name and address, please.
Hi, my name's Larry Walewski. I'm the facility manager for Southeast Michigan Magna Electronics. My work address is 26360 American Drive.
Great, thank you. So I think the question is, yeah, if Veoneer is no longer a tenant, would a future tenant also get signage, or is there not plans for future tenants?
No
Like-
plans to sublease to anybody else. Magna would move in wholly to that facility, and you were correct, Mr. Rogers, they would remove the Veoneer signs off the building.
Yeah, I was just curious also if, you know, the two signs that are stacked on top of each other on the one elevation, you know, if you remove the one after the tenant leaves, would you want to make the other one larger going forward? That
No,
would be-
sir.
No, okay. So the size that you're proposing is fine for,
Yes, sir.
for all, you know? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah, so I don't have a problem with these modifications. The building is very large, and it's also very, you know, out in kind of like a rural part of Southfield. So better signage on all the elevations, especially if you're the owner of the building, is okay by me.
okay, sounds good. Ms. Libbit?
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any additional questions besides exactly what Mr. Rogers asked. So, Mr. Rogers, will you make a motion for us?
Sure. In regards to ZBA case 23-25, the appellant Metro Detroit Signs representing the owner, American Properties LLC, is requesting the following waivers from the board. 1, a variance for 1 additional wall sign not facing a major thoroughfare, 0 permitted, 1 proposed. And 2, a variance for 2 additional secondary signs facing a major thoroughfare over 50 square feet. Property is located on the west side of American Drive between 11 Mile and Franklin Road at 26360 American Drive, Sidwell parcel 24-18-476-014, zoned RC Regional Center District. I make a motion to modify case, ZBA case number
1816
1816
to
to allow for 3 internally illuminated secondary wall signs, 65 square feet in area, located on the north, 95 square feet, excuse me, in the area located on the north, east, and west elevations of the building. A total of 285 square feet of wall sign area is proposed. I make this motion based on the following. Due to the size of the building and the parcel, the additional square footage is minor in nature. The proposed signs are consistent with the spirit and intent of the sign ordinance and the regulations which apply to the zoning district. The proposed signs are in keeping with the character of the surrounding area. It would not have an adverse or detrimental effect on adjacent or surrounding properties. And the proposed signs will not interfere with or be objectionable from the standpoint of traffic safety.
Great, thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, that is unanimous, and your request is granted. I think continue to work with the city on the permitting, and I think you're all set, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Okay, will the city call the next case, please?
Case 2323, the appellant Cassandra Ward, owner, is requesting the following from the board: a variance of the required roof appliance enclosure. The property is located on the north side of 10 Mile Road between Telegraph and Berg Roads. Sidwell parcel 2420477015, zone B3, general business. This appeal is to section 5.33, subsection 4, article 4, chapter 45 of the Southfield City Code, more commonly known as the zoning ordinance.
Okay, thank you. Is the appellant here? Hi there. If you could both please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Cassandra Ward. The address right here or my home address?
Either is fine.
Oh, 24070 10 Mile Road.
Okay, thank you. And if you could state your name, please.
Jimmy Ward, property address is 24070 West 10 Mile Road.
Great, thank you. And then if you could just explain to us what you're asking for and why, please.
Yeah, we're seeking a variance to.
Yep, just make sure you go right up to the microphone.
Okay, we're seeking a variance to the requirement for the screening of AC units, rooftop AC units. This is, I guess, subsequent to other requirements for us to gain our occupancy permit for the building, which we've been in the building since 2010, so 2011, but I guess we're officially getting our occupancy permit. All of the work has been done. This particular requirement has been vetted by contractors, and we have received several no quotes. Some structural engineers actually advised us to, forego this request, and that's why we're here, because of the age of the building and other potential impacts to structural requirements to the building. So we're just seeking a variance according to expertise, as well as just being a good member of the Southfield community. So.
Okay, thank you. Will the city read the findings of fact, please?
For ZBA case 23-23, the appellant Cassandra Ward, owner, is requesting the following from the board: variance of the required roof appliance closure. Property is located on the north side of 10 Mile Road between Telegraph and Berg Roads. Sidwell parcel 2420477015, zoned B3 general business. Property to the north is zoned EROM and is developed with the Mars Agency office building. The property to the south across 10 Mile Road is zoned I-1 industrial and is developed with a multi-tenant commercial strip center. The properties to the east and west are zoned B3 general business and are developed with CarePoint Physical Therapy and Southfield Veterinary Clinic, respectively. The site contains 0.16 acres of land with 50 feet of frontage on 10 Mile Road and a depth of approximately 140 feet. The appellant requested a change of occupancy through the building department in May 2022 per section 5.18, Article 4 of the zoning ordinance. Because the property is a non-conforming site and had not been legally occupied since 2012, no valid certificate of occupancy in effect, the appellant was required to apply for administrative site plan approval to address non-conforming site issues. The appellant applied for administrative site plan approval on May 3rd, 2022. Administrative site plan approval was granted on August 29th, 2023. The approved administrative site plan reflects several non-conforming site upgrades, including barrier-free parking compliance, installation of a bike rack, pedestrian connection from the 10 Mile Road right-of-way sidewalk to the building entrance, front yard landscaping compliance, and rooftop screening. Per section 5.33, subsection 4, Article 4 of the zoning ordinance, enclosure of appliances or accessories in all zone districts, roof appliances such as, but not limited to, cooling towers, air conditioners, heating apparatus, dust collectors, filters, transformers, and any other such appliance or apparatus, other than flagpoles, chimneys for carrying products of combustion, and radio antenna towers, shall be enclosed within opaque walls not less in height than the height of the highest appliance, is measured from the plane of the roof surface upon which the screening device is mounted to the top of the highest appliance. Such walls may be louvered to permit passage of air for cross ventilation, but shall be adequate to totally screen such equipment from view. The design of the screening device shall be compatible with the architectural design of the building upon which it is located. The approved site plan prepared by a licensed design professional indicates a 30-inch high rooftop equipment screen of vertical metal siding to obscure the existing rooftop air conditioning unit on the north building elevation. On September 28th, 2023, the planning department received email from the appellant's husband, Jimmy Ward, stating they had been unable to obtain quotes from several companies due to the nature of the work. Concerns regarding liability and impact to the structure were noted by Mr. Ward. Correspondents also voiced concerns regarding the need to provide engineered plans prepared by a structural engineer to include structural calculations, wind loads, roof structure type and spacing, roof slope, roofing type, etc., which could lead to substantial cost and liability concerns. Additionally, Mr. Ward mentioned he has observed several other buildings in the area with unconcealed rooftop HVAC units. To date, neither the building nor the planning department have received information from a structural engineer or similar, indicating that installation of rooftop screening would not be feasible or able to be completed due to practical difficulty. Since March 2000, there have been no variances brought before the board or approved for required rooftop screening. Existing rooftop screening noncompliance is handled either on a complaint basis through the Code Enforcement Department or as part of administrative or site plan review and/or special inspections conducted as part of the change in occupancy or use through the planning department.
Okay, thank you. I apologize, I forgot to ask you at the beginning if you want, I assume you want to continue to have the case heard tonight. Okay, I just wanted to make sure we actually asked. Okay, so do you agree with those facts? Do you have any other facts to add?
I guess I didn't hear a recommendation, or.
Yep, that comes after we add any more facts.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I think, young lady, stated the facts accurately, and just, you know, the fact that we received no quotes, and guidance from structural engineers, you know, advised otherwise, I would just, you know, ask that you guys approve this variance for this particular windscreen. Again, all of the work has been done except for this particular windscreen.
Okay, will the city read the staff recommendation, please?
Staff's recommendation is to deny the variance requested based upon the following. The appellant has not demonstrated practical difficulty in complying with zoning ordinance requirements. City has not been provided with evidence that any special or unique conditions or circumstances exist, particular to the building or property, such as land shape, size, topography, etc., which would prevent them from installing the required screening, besides perhaps economic, which cannot be considered. Further, strict application of the rooftop screening ordinance does not pose an unnecessary hardship. It does not prevent the applicant or appellant from making a reasonable return on their investment. Additionally, the variance requested could be considered a self-imposed hardship. The issue was addressed at the time of approval, and further, many commercial properties ground mount their air conditioning units to avoid the structural implications and challenges of roof mounting. In granting a variance of the required rooftop screening could set a negative precedent for other similar properties who do not want to incur the hassle or expense of contracting a structural engineer to prepare plans needed to achieve compliance with zoning ordinance and building code requirements.
Okay, thank you. What else is there anything else you'd like to add?
I mean, I don't think we're, you know, a nuisance to the neighbors. Both neighbors have similar conditions. Even Comerica right off 10 Mile and Telegraph have similar conditions. So I think we would be parallel to other, you know, buildings in the space or area. So I don't think, again, you know, we would cause a nuisance or any type of issues, you know.
Okay, so now would be the time we open public comment. Seeing no one else with us, we'll close public comment and turn it over to the board. Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, I'm trying to determine, what is the zoning board's purpose in this? Are we determining whether a practical difficulty is a practical difficulty? Are we determining whether it's proper? We are in charge of requiring a screen in front of the air conditioning unit or not? I'm really, you know, I don't know where our authority is in regards to this. I mean, you have an administrative plan that says these are the things that need to be addressed, and now this last item has not been addressed. You know, so that's one thing. Then the other thing is, if there are structural engineers out there who say that you can't install something around that, then why would you put an air conditioning unit and add more weight to the top of the roof of the building? So, I mean, in other words, I've dealt with structural engineers for 3 decades. I would imagine that there's a way to put a short fence in front of that. I don't know if it's a whole fence that has to go around the whole thing. It looks like from the drawing it just needs to be on the back entrance side.
Yeah, we actually inherited the building with the AC unit mounted on the roof. When we purchased the building, that was the original condition.
And then the other question I have is, what's the purpose of this screen when the actual unit is all the way to the back of the actual building? Is it for appearance? So you know, and then you're comparing it to other buildings that are in the area. I'm sure everything has its you know, context. But like I said, I feel like this is not something the zoning board determines, you know, whether we should require a screen in front of the appliance, or we should determine whether the practical difficulty is proper. You know, I don't know. All I know is I can go along with the city in saying that, you know, this was the administrative site plan that we approved, and this item has not been done, barring that, there should be no certificate of occupancy, at least a final certificate of occupancy that's given. I would give a temporary one with the condition that it's taken care of in 60 days, 90 days or something like that. But other than that, it just seems to me to be a very small item in regards to the whole picture of what you've done here. I mean, it's nice that you got the whole building ready, and I assume it's up and operational.
Yeah, correct. And this was one of the final pieces, and we fully intended to complete all of the work required. And just again, just understanding what the experts say. I mean, I can't get anybody to install it if they're no quoting the job. Structural engineers they're not interested in even taking or doing a study. So I think for us, we're at, almost a dead end to a certain extent, to make sure that we install something that's safe, dependable, reliable, as opposed to doing it at risk. So for us, I think we've hit a point in the process where, outside of everything else, this is the one area that we, have stumbled upon, just not being able to get it completed. So.
And I hear what you're saying. I just find it hard to believe that there's not some type of compromise that could be made on putting something in front of there, albeit maybe not something that is drilled through the roof's, membrane or whatever. If it's, it's going to be done another way.
Can we ask Sarah what the requirement is of the screening? Like, is there a material requirement? Is there any, could it be fabric? Like, what could it?
They've proposed standing seam metal. It's fairly light. We've had several other properties in the city that have installed something in this fashion. So I had kind of the same question. You have a whole air conditioning unit on top of the roof. I'm not an expert, but that's one of our reasoning. We can't see why that would be a practical difficulty. You already have an air conditioning unit. Adding, additional screening or something that may not even need to penetrate the roof system. We don't know, but to me, that just, it
So
doesn't
can
seem
their
like-
administrative site plan be amended to change the material to something else? Like, again, I've never even noticed these things.
I can't see,
Mr. Rogers said.
maybe Wayne would be able to weigh in, but I would think that, this is fairly common, and I would think that this is probably one of the lightest opaque materials that could be proposed, but,
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
We do these all the time in new construction and remodeling, and I get the engineering on them on a regular basis. It's not that difficult to do the engineering on these. There is a concern with wind loads on these, but that can be met pretty easily because of the light material and the way they're fastened to there may be some additional steel required or some support on the underside of the roof to carry those wind loads. But other than that, the weight isn't an issue because most roofs are designed to carry a snow load of 25 pounds per square foot, which this wouldn't affect that at all. So my opinion is that it can be done, and it doesn't create a hardship.
Madam Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. Is there a statement from an engineer explaining why this, and what does practical difficulty mean? Is that monetary? Is it?
If I
Those
might,
are
through
my
the
two
chair,
questions.
economic hardship cannot be considered. I believe I kind of went over what practical difficulties are, something in terms of like setbacks, if there's a triangular shape of land or something, some sort of unique condition or circumstance with the situation that makes it impossible or not feasible for them to install what they're supposed to be doing. So
once again-
they've not been able to, and that is the criteria in which we look at these dimensional variances or, variances in general, that they need to present a practical difficulty, why they cannot.
Well,
Conform with the zoning
They can't get any
ordinance.
quotes. They can't get anybody to do the work.
So can we,
But
through
that's not
through the
answered.
chair, may I ask you, you have had engineers say that they will not give you a quote, or they will not build this, or it's.
Yeah, what we presented was, the plans, and most firms or engineers, locally anyway, said that they're just not interested because of the potential whatever is required, like you say, reinforcements. So it gets into a whole different spectrum as far as what's required to actually mount this screen safely. I think that's the key word we're driving here is safety and liability, and people just tend to say no quote. So, I mean, outside.
Can you get someone to put that in writing?
I do have, well, I have one email from our roofer that said that he wasn't comfortable doing the work, but that's all he said. It wasn't any engineering involved.
And these are the guys at American Standard Roofing right here in Southfield. I mean, so these are professional roofers, and they did the roof here they did a tear off and put a new roof in, and they don't even want to touch it. So unless you guys have recommendations.
That's what I was going to ask. Do we have, I mean, I know we obviously are not recommending private firms, but is there any recommendation that we could direct them to a few vendors that we know have installed them, something similar to this?
Typically, we don't make recommendations for contractors that would show favoritism or create a conflict for us.
Can we point them to other approved locations that have had
Yeah,
them that they could
there's
inquire to
several
them?
engineering firms out there that do this type of work every day.
But not the engineering firms, like where they've actually been installed in Southfield recently.
Say that again?
Where this screening has actually been installed in Southfield in recent years.
There's been several locations.
Okay, could we give them the addresses and they could inquire to those business owners
Okay.
who installed?
Okay.
Okay, I mean, I'd be willing to table this case and give them, 30, 60, or maybe January, whenever our next meeting is, to attempt to rectify. And then if you need to bring proof that nobody will do the work. But what I would recommend is hopefully the city can provide you some locations that you could visit, inquire who did their work, and then try to get bids.
Through the chair to the board.
Yes, ma'am.
I would just like to answer your question. So unfortunately, with the way you're asking, we would not be able to provide that information, but there is a way to request it through a FOIA, which would be done with the clerk's office. But with those, you have to be kind of specific, so I don't want to get into it in this meeting, but you can reach out to our office tomorrow, and we can kind of guide you on how to submit the FOIA request.
So who were
For you.
Do we need a motion?
Yes.
I would move that we table this until our January meeting.
First meeting in January? Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this will be tabled, reach out to the city tomorrow, learn how to submit a FOIA, however the city's standards, be very, very specific about requesting locations that have installed exactly what this is called, so that you can do some research and, have another 60, 65 days to try to see if you can get some quotes.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes our public hearing. Looks like we have minutes from September 12th. I didn't see any issues. Anybody see anything? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the minutes for September 12th?
So approval of minutes September 12th as presented.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. So right now, okay, moving on to upcoming meetings. Right now, we have our year-end meeting planned for December 5th, and that's the only item on the agenda. And then we have our December 19th meeting that has 4 cases. So staff reached out to me and asked if we would want to move the year-end discussion to the 19th and cancel the meeting for the 5th.
That would make sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. I know in the past when we've had long discussions about year-end, but more recently, and we just amended them last year, so I think there's probably not a long discussion to occur. And a reminder, if you do have specific questions on the rules for procedure, to send them to staff so they can get answers in advance. So can I have a motion to cancel the December 5th meeting and move the year-end meeting to the 19th?
I make a motion to move the meeting to the 19th of January. December.
December.
I'm sorry. A little
Okay.
too far ahead of myself.
Yeah, I understand. Can I have a second? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any miscellaneous?
I'm wondering if I need to do an addendum to the motion that I made, because I cannot remember reading the property location for that motion?
I think you did, because I
Did I?
was listening. Yeah,
Okay.
I try to listen for a couple key things.
All right, okay. We're good
Okay,
then.
so I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All right, we are adjourned.
All right.